Hey guys, I'm Combat Craig, and today we're going to talk about VA mental health ratings and how they're determined. In order to get a high VA mental health rating, the VA is going to be looking at the severity of your symptoms. Today we will be talking about mental health symptoms because they determine what your VA mental health rating is ultimately going to be. In order to win your VA mental health claim, you're going to need a diagnosis, symptoms, and a nexus. In this video, we're going to be talking about the symptoms. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you get value out of this video, and make sure you sign up for my bootcamp if you want to talk with me one-on-one in one of my live sessions, or you want to communicate via email. Links in the description. VA mental health ratings revolve around the concept of social and occupational impairment. As we go through the different ratings, you'll see that phrase pop up a lot in the different rating criteria, the different percentages. 0, 10, 30, 50, 70, and 100. It's all based on social and occupational impairment. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself that everybody's gone through a divorce or is estranged from their kids or wants to beat the shit out of their boss, and you'd be right. Most human beings, Americans, deal with this kind of stuff, but the VA has been mandated by federal law to look into your social and occupational impairment, so that's what you need to focus on, and the more you open up about how your disability affects you, the higher your VA mental health rating is going to get. You're going to want to paint a picture about your social and your work life and the impairment, and here are a few things that you should get together that's going to help you do this. I would get your Social Security records from all the way back to when you started working as a teenager. Nothing shows occupational impairment over a sustained period of time, like your entire work history, that has no job lasting longer than 2 years, no career to speak of, and then lots of gaps where you couldn't find a job, you're on unemployment, then you got another job and that lasted for 6 months and you got fired because you can't stand to look at your boss's stupid face, and it repeats itself. And this process goes on for 30 years. This is a good way to explain occupational impairment. Like, there's no career here. I can't even hold a job for longer than 2 years. The average job, 6 months, been fired from everything. So you could get your Social Security records, and here's what that form looks like. You also want to get copies of all of your arrest records for every time you've been charged with a misdemeanor or a felony. If a restraining order has been put on you, then add that to the pile as well. Get copies of your divorce paperwork and any other legal paperwork that shows that you had your kids taken away from you. Alimony, child support, that kind of stuff. The normal person, which isn't veterans, the normal person doesn't go to jail. I guess there's an argument to be made about divorce, but usually the normal person doesn't get their kids taken away from them and doesn't go to jail. So that is social impairment. These are things that are explaining that you cannot function socially. Depending on the degree of difficulty you have around people, if you have these charges and records and your kids taken away, this is good stuff to get in and get together before you file your claim. Now you have a package of information that supports your occupational impairment with your Social Security records. And then you can also prove social impairment because you've been arrested twice for assault, you've been divorced 3 times, you have 2 restraining orders put on you by your ex-wife, and the kids were taken away from you 10 years ago. This is good objective evidence to support your claim. If you didn't know you needed all this stuff, in addition to a diagnosis, symptoms, and a nexus, before you filed your last claim, then you probably ended up with a lower mental health rating than you deserve because the VA didn't have all the information. You didn't know you needed to provide it, so they didn't have it, so they gave you a low ball rating. So did you get the right VA mental health rating? You filed your claim, you went to your C&P exam, which you didn't feel very good about, and 5 months later, you got your decision letter. The VA has you down at a 30% VA mental health rating, and you are shooting for a 70% mental health rating. Your decision letter will say why they gave you a 30% rating, and they'll explain why they didn't go up to 50 or didn't go lower to 10. They explain that in your decision letter. It's important to read your decision letter a few times, however many times it takes, right? Until you understand it. So your first shot at it is going to be, well, this sucks. I was going for 70 and got 30. I would glance at that and then toss it aside, come back to it in a couple days. You need to read it and understand it. And if you're emotional and pissed off, it's not going to sink in. This is a legal action. You need to understand legally where you stand now and legally what you need to do to go after that 70% rating. Most likely, the CNP examiner and the VA rater are downplaying your symptoms, or you didn't properly report them in the first place. It's usually one of those two things. Either way, this is what you're going to appeal, and you need to have the medical evidence to support that 70% VA mental health rating. And if you already have it, then you'll do a higher level review. If you don't have the evidence and you didn't know what you were doing, and now you know you're missing stuff, then you're going to need to file a supplemental claim, and you're going to go out and get new and relevant medical evidence that shows your symptoms at the 70% range. So you either do a higher level review if you have the evidence and you know you have it, and if you don't know, go get more and then file a supplemental VA claim. My last video was about VA claims for depression, where I talk about specific diagnostic codes, how to prove depression, and the importance of a nexus. That's right here. Today, we'll be reviewing the different rating percentages, and we'll start off with 100% VA mental health rating criteria. This is the highest standalone rating you can get for any rateable mental health condition. And there's a few veterans in my boot camp that have 100% mental health rating. It happens. Personally, I have a 70% rating. 100% VA mental health rating for anxiety or depression is not going to put your marriage back together, but it will give you a little tax-free financial breathing room for the rest of your life. This is serious, guys. This isn't like, let me take a shot and do a half-assed attempt at filing a claim. You're at 30%. You're making like $300 a month. Do this right. Spend the money you need to spend, get the doctors, whatever you need to do to get the medical evidence. And if you deserve to be 100%, then go prove it and get paid $3206.06. That's $3,200 a month. I mean, that's a huge difference. It's life-changing for you. I know it's life-changing for me. Get into the Hundo Club if that's where you deserve to be. 100% VA mental health rating. You're completely unable to function socially or at work with symptoms such as severely inappropriate behavior, ongoing hallucinations or delusions. You're a consistent threat of harming yourself or others, and you're unable to remember basic information such as names of close relatives, people around you. You have severe confusion and disorientation, and you're not able to care for yourself. So you don't need to have all of these things. You need to have some of these things. 100% rating it's a high rating. You need to have severe symptoms. And you add in your arrest records. Oh, I forgot about the psych holds. If you've gone down for a 5150 or a 5250, make sure you submit that as well. Your arrest records, restraining orders, all that stuff. Coupled with these severe conditions, that's usually the guys that get 100% rating. They've been locked up in both jail and in mental facilities. So if that's not you, and I'm not saying this is like, the end or be all, but the majority of people have been locked up in one of those two places. A 70% VA mental health rating. You are unable to function in most social and work areas with symptoms such as obsessive behaviors, checking the locks on the doors, having cameras around my house. I'm looking at my TV up there, spinning around, seeing your cameras all the time, having everything locked, security issues, illogical speech. If you watch me for any amount of time, a lot of things that I say is illogical speech. Depression and panic so persistent that it interferes with your ability to function. You also have suicidal thinking. You lack the ability to control your impulses and you just explode. You also don't really care too much about personal hygiene. You cannot handle stress of any kind and you lack the ability to maintain relationships. This sounds like my life story. Does this sound familiar to you? Raise your hand, right? These types of symptoms, when properly reported and documented by a doctor, are exactly why a 70% VA mental health rating is what most veterans end up with if they do this right. You need to report everything, get all this information, and you need to take a personal inventory and be real about this. And this should be painful. This is going to make you more upset. It's going to make you cry. It's going to probably make you suicidal. Like you're going to need to go back to your skeleton closet. This is not easy. A 70% rating is not easy, but you have these symptoms. So quit ignoring them and get your 70% VA mental health rating. 50% VA mental health rating. You have some reduced reliability and productivity in your work and social life. You have symptoms like trouble understanding instructions, memory loss, forgetting to do things, poor judgment, mood disturbances, trouble with work and social relationships, and or having one or more panic attacks weekly. Panic attacks show up in different parts of the rating criteria, and depending on how often you have them, that could swing you up or down a rating. You know, if you're at 50, more panic attacks could swing you up to 70, less panic attacks could swing you down to 30. So if you have panic attacks, you want to document those. I've had panic attacks for years. I didn't even know I was having panic attacks. I self-medicated with drugs and alcohol for years. So I was just numb and I was out of it all the time. So I didn't even really deal with panic attacks or reality. If this is you, get to a doctor, get some treatment, get some medication. I'm not saying that, this is all going to make you better, but it sure beats heavy alcohol abuse and hardcore drug abuse. That I can guarantee. And you'll be under the care of a physician. That's a lot better than self-medication. A 30% VA mental health rating. You have some trouble functioning socially and at work, and the VA calls it occasional decrease in work efficiency. I'm no doctor or lawyer or accredited, but this verbiage makes no sense to me whatsoever. Your symptoms include depression, anxiety, chronic difficulty sleeping, mild memory loss, suspiciousness, and panic attacks. But that only happens to you a few times a year, occasionally? It just doesn't even make any sense. That's stupid. I'm paranoid all the time, constant panic attacks, no interest in being around people. I have my head on a swivel 24/7, 365, and I've been like this for 30 years. I can't see how someone with serious mental health issues, can only have this a few times a year. But, if that is how you reported your symptoms, then this is exactly why you ended up with a 30% VA mental health rating. You underreported your symptoms. Oh, so you're suspicious and paranoid and you're like that all the time? But however they pose that question to you, you're like, oh yeah, I'm only like that on Valentine's Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. You underreported your symptoms, so you got a 30% rating. A 10% VA mental health rating. Mild symptoms creating work and social impairment when under significant stress, or mild symptoms managed successfully with continuous medication. This is another one. I take tons of meds for my mental health disabilities, but they don't make me all better. I take them because they do help, but they do not change me into a fully functioning human being. If you said that, oh yeah, all these lobotomy pills make me feel fine. That's why you don't say it. Your C&P examiner, how are you doing? How's your day? Oh, it's great. When they ask you how the meds make you feel, oh yeah, I feel great. They don't make you feel great. This is how you might have ended up with a 10% rating if you walked into your C&P exam and told them, oh yeah, the meds make me feel fine. I'm normal. Go get your VA claims file and look in your records from that old C&P exam. It'll say something and they'll quote you. Veteran feels normal and fine. 10% rating. A 0% VA mental health rating. With a 0% VA mental health rating, veterans have a diagnosis, but the symptoms are not severe enough to interfere with occupational or social functioning. Now, on this one, the VA has proposed some changes to the VA mental health rating criteria, and in that proposal, they're going to do away with the 0% rating. I mean, this makes sense, right? Think about it. How can you have a diagnosis for something that doesn't bother you at all? Of course, I'm using basic logic here, and this is a perfect example of how the VA doesn't use logic. That's like me having a diagnosis of cancer and I don't have cancer. So doing away with the, maybe that wasn't the greatest example, but doing away with the 0% rating is something that I look forward to. If you have a 0% rating for mental health, you need to get that raised. That rating is so stupid, the VA is going to get rid of it. If you're using a VA doctor and they're unwilling to document your symptoms or write you a nexus letter, then you might want to try the email address on the screen right here, and be sure you include your phone number when you send them an email that says, I need some medical evidence for my VA claim. VA mental health claims are all about medical evidence. I talk about mental health claims in almost every one of my live sessions in my boot camp because it's such a powerful claim. And if you do it right, you're going to walk away with a 70% VA mental health rating. Check out my boot camp at combatcraig.com if you want to join me on one of my live sessions. Now, if your VA mental health claim has been denied and you want to appeal it, you might want to consider lawyering up. Check out Hill and Ponton at hillandponton.com to see if they could help you with your claim. Links for both my boot camp and Hill and Ponton are in the description below. And I'll see you in the next video.